Hello guys and welcome back to another FPL video. My name is FPL Meerkat and today I've got the optimal Game Week 1 draft using some AI, using some metrics provided from DRAFTHOUND. I'll leave a link to DRAFTHOUND in the description. I personally don't like to build a team just for one game week, but I'm basically doing this video for you guys in case you want to get as high of a score you want to in Game Week 1. Just purely looking at the best performers predicted for Game Week 1. So let's get straight into it with the goalkeepers here. And of course, it's Ederson predicted for the top spot. Now, I know a lot of you don't really like Ederson too much. He's been a thorn in people's side. Man City are a great defence. We all know this, but he doesn't seem to get the save points. And Man City tended to leak one or two goals in a lot of their games last season, but he is definitely the highest predicted for a clean sheet, so that is why he tops the predicted points here for the goalkeepers. Ramsdale as well, a very popular option, and also predicted high 3.7 points there. I would tend to say that the goalkeepers' expected points are the lowest of the positions, so you might not want to spend too much money on a goalkeeper here, but as you can see here, all the price points seem to be covered for the best goalkeeper to start off with for Game Week 1. Ederson in the premium spot, Ramsdale in the 5 million spot, and Steele there at 4.5 million. We will have to see whether it's Steele or the new goalkeeper for Bruggen who gets the #1 spot at Brighton. But yeah, the Brighton goalkeeper for 4.5 million with that home game against Luton, a really nice choice there. Onana as well, a new addition to the game, now a very popular asset. Pope as well, someone who I've not seen in many teams at all due to Newcastle's tough opening fixtures, but that home fixture against Aston Villa, probably the best out of their opening four. Alisson as well, of course, Alisson is going to be there, gets a lot of saves and potentially gets a clean sheet. And then Leno as well, a very nice 4.5 million option there. Moving on to the defenders. John Stones is actually the top of this list. Obviously, the City defence, the City opening fixture as well against Burnley away. You're going to see a lot of Man City players near the top here, but it's just guessing at who's going to play, where the minutes are going to be. And John Stones seems to have tick both the boxes of minutes and potential goal involvement. Alexander-Arnold as well, really high up there, 4.7. Of course, you have to pay a premium for Alexander-Arnold, but yeah, he is certainly highly predicted there with 4.7 points. Estupiñán as well, incredibly popular in teams. Gabriel for that Arsenal defence with Nottingham Forest. To be fair, Arsenal did tend to leak a goal or two at home at times, but yeah, that home fixture against Nottingham Forest is very tantalising on paper. Trippier, quite a popular defender. If you're on the FPL Twitter scene, he's not in a lot of drafts, but he's actually the second highest owned defender in the game right now. Only second to Estupiñán, obviously very high on the predicted points there. Kyle Walker coming in next, a really interesting choice. The data here seems to suggest that Kyle Walker, in terms of expected minutes, is actually pretty decent. He's one of the only players who plays on that right-hand side for Man City. So in terms of minutes, he's actually, the data here would suggest that he might be second. And he also does he sometimes gets up the pitch as well, potentially getting a goal involvement. So yeah, for a cheaper Man City defender, it seems that Kyle Walker, the data is saying, is the better pick. And Zinchenko as well. Again, I think he might be injured at the time of me recording this, but once he's back fully fit, he will be the preferred choice at left back if Arsenal are, of course, still playing a system that utilises a left back. But yeah, fair few options here. Moving on to the midfielders, and of course, by a landslide, it is Mohamed Salah topping the list. The only real premium asset this year other than Kevin De Bruyne, who at the moment is maybe injured. We're not sure. He's a major doubt at the moment. But yeah, Salah, of course, tops the list, has been in very good form in pre-season as well. Saka coming in second. Saka and Ødegaard very much inseparable. If you look at the predicted points on DRAFTHOUND, they are very, very close every single week. I think it's about 0.1 every single week. But yeah, Saka is slightly favoured there, but the data here does suggest that Ødegaard is also a very nice pick as well. Saka, of course, does have penalties to his name, but Ødegaard seems to be a bit more clinical. He seems to overperform his XG a lot more. Grealish as well, an interesting choice here that I've not seen in many teams, only 7.6% owned, but the expected minutes for Grealish do look very good. He did seem to nail a starting position in that Man City team last season. And of course, we know that Man City are going to score a lot of goals. So Grealish, you would hope, is either involved in the goals or involved in the assists. So yeah, he actually comes in as the 4th highest midfielder in this. Then we have the Man United boys. We have Rashford and Fernandes. Of course, that home fixture against Wolves, very nice on paper. It'll be interesting to see. At the time we're recording this, Man United have just signed Højlund, I think is his name. Not Haaland, Højlund. For the striker spot, a very high sum for him as well. So you would expect him to come and be a starter in that striker position, which will push Rashford out wide and will make Bruno Fernandes have a lot more of a target man to aim for. Whether Højlund becomes the starting striker straight from the get-go, we'll have to wait and see. And it'll be interesting to see how this affects the predicted points here once he is confirmed as a signing on the game. But yeah, those are two very nice assets there. And of course, Martinelli, who is a favourite of mine, a really nice differential at the moment at 13.2% owned. And I think doubling up on the Arsenal attack seems like a good choice on paper with the Nottingham Forest at home fixture. And of course, we know that Arsenal score a lot of goals. And then moving on to the forwards, of course, miles ahead at the top, it's Erling Haaland. I have thought myself about potentially going against Erling Haaland, but all the data, all the preseason, all of the facts just tell me you shouldn't really go without Erling Haaland. Going against Erling Haaland could be disastrous if he scores high, and if he doesn't score high, then who are you going to have instead that's going to be capable of the things that Haaland is capable of? It's going to be very hard to find someone like that unless you're going for the likes of a Harry Kane, who is second on this list. The away fixture at Brentford isn't the best on paper, but we know how consistent Kane is of an asset. But in terms of the expected points, in comparison to his price tag, it's actually very comparable to Saka, who is 4 million cheaper than Kane. So it's a little bit tougher to fit Kane into a draft without making big sacrifices elsewhere. Gabriel Jesus comes in next at 4.9 expected points here. Again, we know how great the Arsenal attack is, and it looks like that Jesus, as long as he stays fit, will be nailed on for that striker position. Darwin Núñez comes in at 4th here. I obviously love Darwin Núñez as a player. Again, the minutes have gone up. The expected minutes have gone up for Darwin Núñez after being handed the number 9 shirt, and he's been on firing form in pre-season. It is expected for him to start against Chelsea. So obviously his expected points have gone up based on that. I think his expected minutes have reached about 70 now. You might see an early sub from him just because of the amount of cover that Liverpool have with Jota and Gakpo potentially playing in that spot. But yeah, Darwin Núñez still looks like a very nice option there. Interestingly enough, we then have Isak and Wilson. We have both of the Newcastle strikers here at 4.1 and 3.9. Isak, surprisingly, does have slightly higher expected points here. I think this is due to the minutes. Wilson is slightly more of a risk for minutes just because he can only play that striker position, whereas Isak can play striker and left wing. So in terms of who's going to be in the lineup, Isak is a safer pick, but as we've seen in previous game weeks, Wilson can be a much more explosive asset on his day. So it depends how much you think how much you can predict that Newcastle lineup. And playing against Newcastle, we have Watkins next at 3.6 there. He makes it as the 7th highest predicted points for strikers. Watkins, again, we know is a very consistent asset. The game against Newcastle is actually one of his toughest in the opening few fixtures. The fixtures get a lot better for Watkins. So if you're all right, potentially taking a lower score in that first game, I think Watkins can be a very nice asset. And of course, using all that data, here is the Game Week 1 optimal draft from DRAFTHOUND. 64.4 expected points, an average X minutes of 73. I think that also includes the bench, which is not in the screenshot. But as you can see here, a lot of expected points from every single player here. In fact, it's pretty much expected a return from every single player. Of course, that's probably not going to happen, but of course, this is the most that expected data can do. It can't predict the future, but what it can do is give you the statistics and give you the likelihood of certain outcomes happening. So yeah, it does tend to favour Haaland being the captain here and Saka being the vice captain. Of course, Salah is the second highest in terms of expected points. However, the amount of funds you can spread around for other assets increases the expected points a lot more than just having Salah in the team instead. If you had Salah over the likes of a Rashford, it would mean sacrificing another one such as Saka or Ødegaard, and you would be getting less points elsewhere. So yeah, this is the optimal draft. 26% average ownership as well. So relatively away from the template, really. The formation of a 4-5-1 isn't really very template. The template at the moment seems to be a 3-5-2 at the moment, and obviously double Brighton defence as well, and Trippier in the side is certainly something fairly different. Trent Alexander-Arnold as well is a player who was high on the expected points, but his price tag doesn't justify, he's too much to fit into this team, and the bench is as cheap as possible to make all of this happen. In fact, actually, I think there was 0.5 left in the bank that's on the bench. But yeah, what do you guys think of this team? Of course, I don't suggest that you plan simply for game week 1. You should be planning for multiple game weeks so that you're not stuck on wildcarding early. But I've done that strategy a couple times, a couple seasons, and it's worked out all right for me. But yeah, this is the optimal draft if you want to get onto a really good start in game week 1. And again, a lot of these players do have really nice fixtures continuing on from game week 1 in the near future. So I hope you guys have enjoyed that video. Again, I'll leave a link to DRAFTHOUND in the description. A really nice assistant manager tool. I've been using it a lot, tinkering with the team. I do like to watch all the games to get my, the eye test, but then I look at the data that's provided on DRAFTHOUND to sort of reaffirm what I'm watching, using a combination of the data and the eye test as well. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Get subscribed to the channel if you've enjoyed for more weekly content, and I'll see you in the next FPL video.